right, guys, welcome back to Crossman Productions. Man, today's been a busy day. So, if you missed the interview earlier today, we interviewed Brett Farvel. You guys have seen Brett on the show Vindication. He's in a new film called Disciples in the Moonlight that's hitting the theaters July 17th. You definitely want to go see that movie. That movie's one of those movies that you're going to walk out of the theater talking about. It's going to be one of those that require you to take action when you see that kind of film. So make sure that you go and get your tickets and definitely go see that movie. One of the things that I really like about this show is I get to meet new people all the time. I tell you guys all the time that my agent Steve introduces me to people, and he's always giving me a call, and he's like, "Hey, you got to have this person on your show." And I have met some really amazing people through Steve. And so today I have Eric Morris, and I'm pretty excited to be able to get to talk to Eric and kind of hear his story and get to know a little bit more about Eric. So, how's it going, brother?
It's going great. Cross, how you doing, man?
Man, I'm doing awesome, man. Like I said, we kind of been busy. We've had such an amazing week with just bringing in like different people. Steve just introduced me to another guy that I interviewed a couple of days ago, named Brian Elliott. And we've had Larry Hankin on the show. We've had Steve Sawyer. He's always introducing me to some of the coolest people. So he called me up. He's like, "Hey, look, you got to get Eric on the show." So so here we are, man. Wanted to bring you in and kind of get to know you and learn a little bit more about your journey. So why don't you kind of introduce yourself and let my audience know kind of where you were born and raised, and what was life like for Eric growing up?
Man, oh wow. Well, my name's Eric Morris. I was born and raised in Atlanta, Georgia.
Okay.
So I'm a good old Georgia peach. And life for me growing up was, it was a little rough. I mean, we lived all over the place. I had a lot of stepdads. I was adopted as a child. So I had some interesting, backstories and things like that. But my passion was always music. I wanted to be a heavy metal rock star. That was it, man. I was big into skateboards and playing guitar. That was what I did, and I was convinced that was the way.
Right.
So I did that all the time through my teens, and was in a punk metal band. And at some point, I grew up and realized that wasn't the path, and then kind of blossomed into doing country music. That kind of stuff. Started singing, and never was a singer. I'm still not. I tell everybody all the time at the bar, if I'm singing, I'm like, "Y'all keep drinking, man. I'll sound better. Just keep pounding those beers." I'll have you singing along in no time. But yeah, man, that's how it all started, and that kind of is my artistic background. Is that didn't really get involved in film and that kind of thing until a little later down the road. But it's the same to me. It's just a different artistic expression.
Right.
And it's actually more difficult, in my opinion, doing film. So it's more challenging, and bringing a character to life is
right.
It's like trying to bring a song to life,
Right. So when did you start kind of transitioning from being a singer into getting into acting?
It wasn't until my late 30s that I really got into that. And so this was later in life, when I had the opportunity. I actually met somebody. I've also been an entrepreneur for most of my life. So business owner. And I've been in the construction industry my whole life. It's something else I enjoy doing, was building.
Right.
Yeah, I like building structures, and I blossomed into having a company, what we do now, which is waterproofing, foundation repairs, structural repairs, that kind of stuff. So we're kind of a specialized niche company. But a long time ago, somebody had called me to come look at the property, and I got to talking to the gentleman and found out he was an acting instructor. He had an acting school, and
Right.
so he was from Los Angeles, and he went to he studied at the Beverly Hills Playhouse, I think is what they called it, something like
Right.
that. It's a big acting school out there. And I didn't really know what that meant at the time, but he invited me to come sit in a class, and once I did, I never looked back. I mean, I was like, well, this is awesome. So I started class all the time and trying to get better at acting, and it helped kind of we all have bad habits, and it helps you recognize what those are and how to make them better. So the personal gain that I received from acting classes was very helpful in my business as well.
Right.
Just, some things that you don't notice that you do. Being aware of, I got this old Southern twang accent, so I try to, that's something to be aware of. It can hinder you in acting to bringing a character on. So you got to be aware of how to tune that down.
Right.
But yeah, man, that's how I started. I met somebody and went to his acting school and studied there for a few years, and just started submitting myself. And next thing I knew, I had a few agents, and was making some pretty good progress. Was finding myself getting some small parts in big stuff. And yeah, I love it. It's a lot of work. There's a lot to this industry that a lot of people don't talk about. We talk about the wins, but we don't talk about losses or the struggles. But it's tough. This is an industry that's like none other. It's not like in my regular business. I feel like I have so much more control over my regular day-to-day business. When acting is, you put it out there, if you can bring that character to life, but you still are only perceived in the eye of that casting director or that filmmaker. So there's an additional layer that you have to overcome. And then sometimes certain things just have to align. It's a tough thing. You have to really just love the experience, the chasing it and trying to pursue it and enjoy the process. That's really what a book comes down to.
So let me ask you this, going from, owning your own business, going into acting, what do you feel like your biggest obstacle was to overcome?
For personally?
Yeah. Well, getting into acting.
The first time getting on stage, and trying to bring a character to life was odd. And looking at another actor or actress in the eye and trying to be sincere, that was strange. It's just not natural. So that is unique, and but it's something that I enjoy, and I like it when I do it, and it comes across well, and it comes across as being believable. And you're actually, connecting with your scene partner. It's just it's awesome. It's like creating a great song. It's just magic, So, but yeah, I'd say for me that was probably the biggest challenge in the beginning. And it still is sometimes. You just have to be aware of that. And the good thing about film is there's always a take two. So.
Have you ever done any theater work, or is it just film?
Just film. I almost got involved in a traveling play that was, and it paid pretty well, but it was going to involve me traveling up and down the East Coast, and they really wanted me to take this character. They thought I was going to be perfect for this particular character, and I wanted to say yes. Maybe I should have, but I have other obligations, and traveling, just doing that full time wasn't really going to work. So no, I've never done theater. I want to try it one day just to see. They say every actor should. Some actors start in theater and then go to film, but I just went straight to film. And but the theater experience is different. I like to go to watch plays and things like that at theaters. But I've never performed, and that's a that's where there's no take two.
Right. So, yeah, I hear people talk about it all the time. You know, it's done theater and film, and they talk about the difference between the two, how they're totally different beasts. You know, because in theater you're in front of a live audience and you got to remember your lines, and you can't, like you say, you don't get a second chance. But so you've done a couple had a couple of roles in pretty big shows like MacGyver. What were some of the other things that you've done?
Well, there's been a few. Most stuff you guys would never have heard of. Just they're smaller independent stuff. But some of the bigger ones, I've had some small parts in MacGyver, small parts in God, what's the name of the show? I forget the name of it. Strings on HBO. I can't remember the name, but it's a Marvel based. I wish I was better prepared, Cross. I don't remember the name. I've never even seen it, but a lot of people that follow that show, they know what I'm talking about. It's on my IMDb, and there's a whole list of other stuff on my IMDb, which is just Eric James Morris is the name.
Right.
But there was one particular project that I worked on, and I was just a supporting role, and I got to work with a guy named Dwayne Whitaker, which is if you've ever seen Pulp Fiction, he is the guy that owned the pawn shop in the famous, scene.
Right.
He's the pawn shop owner. And what's cool about that is that I got to look him in the eye. And we had words and dialogue, and we were like about to square off. I was a pissed off neighbor, and he was this girl's dad. And anyways, what's cool about that for me is that when I was younger, me and my best buddy, he's no longer with us, he passed away. We used to love that movie, man, and we would talk jokes about that scene all the time.
Right.
And my buddy Dave, he would always imitate Dwayne Whitaker's character, his expression during that scene. And you got to understand my buddy Dave. He was just a natural. He's hilarious. I mean, he just the funniest guy you've ever met.
Right.
So, as an adult, I actually got to have a scene with the same guy who played that character in that film. I just thought that's like that was probably the best experience I've had yet, man, doing this. So yeah, that was an awesome thing to meet him. Super nice guy, man. He's a great actor too, by the way. So that was a big win for me, But I've had other opportunities. There was Undercover Brother 2 that came out. It didn't have the same main characters as Undercover Brother 1, but it still was a good film. But I was going to book this role where I was the bartender. I was a southern accent, rowdy bartender, getting a fight with the main character. And but at the last minute, the production, they went with the other guy. They had already booked out my dates with my agent, and it was I thought it was a done deal.
Right.
But it was the last minute. They went with the other guy, and the other guy had long hair. He looked a little different. So those are the things that you just can't control in this industry.
Right.
I did my part. They loved me. They called me agent. They blocked out my dates. Everything was good. And then last minute, somebody said, we want the guy with the long hair or whatever. Maybe they didn't like my call-in or my callback performance. I don't really know.
Right.
But yeah, man, I mean, a lot of stuff I've done is small. There was one cool scene that I did early on the Vampire Diaries. And it was a non-speaking role, so I didn't get credit for it. But I played it was an opening scene of, I want to say it was episode 811 or 807. It's season 8. But the guy, I forget the vampire's name. He was the evil guy, but he's telling me that my employee I was a coffee shop owner, and he's telling me that my employee is sleeping with my wife, and I get mad, and then I'm slamming that guy's face into the glass. I work with a stunt coordinator and all that. It was just a cool opening scene of the show, of that episode.
Right.
But it's, if they would have let me say something, I could have got credit for it because everybody knows that show.
Right.
But there again, it was early on. It was just one of those things that,
right.
I just happened to fit the character. So, but yeah, man, a lot of horror stuff. There was some horror festival things that we did, and got nominated, for the best male actor. I was one of the top three. I didn't win, but I got nominated as being one of the top three.
Right.
And for a scene where I play a psychopath, and a scene where I'm just crazy. I mean, that's just just not natural. So I mean, I'd have to go back and look, but I have a pretty good amount of credit in a short period of time. I was really hustling back then, just all over the place. Was working everywhere I could to get all the experience that I could, because I wanted to go far in a short period of time. And I was making progress, but then COVID hit, and it just really changed the dynamic of the whole industry for a while. And so and also I have a family, I have a wife, and it was starting to kind of weigh a little bit on the relationship, so I had to kind of slow down.
Right. So let me ask you this: what would be the perfect role for you? What, like, if you could do a film and play a character, what would be the perfect character that you would love to play?
Well, I'd say if the best character I could play was going to be some kind of a guy that's playing a little bit of a bad guy, either some kind of a killer, some kind of a contract killer, that kind of stuff.
Right.
Now, personally, I mean, I would like to play the role of a more normal guy. I've never done like a love story, like a romance story. That would be way out of my wheelhouse. I wouldn't even know how to act. It'd be a big challenge for me.
Right.
But so if I had the choice, I'd rather do that, because I know how difficult it would be.
Right.
But I know where my wheelhouse is at, and it's on the other side of the coin, unfortunately.
Right.
But and also, anybody who wants to shoot Western films, that kind of thing, that's definitely in my wheelhouse. Or sometimes playing kind of a high end, somebody who is affluent, but they're creepy. That's usually my go-to character. So, if you're looking for that guy, I'm your guy. So,
I could definitely see you in something like Yellowstone.
Yeah, man, that kind of stuff is right in my wheelhouse. We did a cool independent film called Judd. It was called my character's name was Gentleman Johnny. Okay, but goodness gracious, I forgot the name of it. That's crazy. But anyways, it was a Western film that it's called Bounty Hunter. That's what it was called. And low budget, but we had a lot of fun. Got to ride horses, and it was played, the guy that I was framed for murder, and I was marrying this big guy's daughter. I mean, it was a fun story. It had great potential, and I wish it would have went further than it did, because it could have been a really cool film, and even what we shot, and it still was cool. I mean, to have a shoestring budget and doing it in weird places and just making it happen. So, but doing the Western stuff would be a lot of fun. I'd like the opportunity to do something like that at some point in the future.
And that's the thing. I love time period films, especially like medieval times. Like knights and the Roman times. I love stuff like Spartacus. So we need more films like that too out there. That's time periods. From here, so you kind of walked away for a little bit because of COVID, and we talked a little bit before it came on. After COVID, I think that the independent film industry has really blown up, and the technology is more readily available, where the average Joe can actually go out and do films.
Yeah.
Are you looking at getting into maybe doing some independent films?
As an actor?
Yes.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. I submitted an audition today, as a matter of fact, for an independent film, playing a kind of a detective guy that's had a rough time, maybe drinks a little too much, and it's involved. The film is something to do with yeah, demonic spirits and angels. So it's one of those types of deals.
Right.
But it's a main character, and it's down in Florida, Orlando, and it is a smaller independent film. It's low budget, not no budget, but it's just has minimal budget.
Right.
So, and then if I get it, I'll go down there and shoot that, even with a small budget. I mean, I'll just make a small vacation out of it. Just try to hopefully get all the shots done within a few days. It's one good thing about that I am a business owner. I can take time away. I don't have a job that holds me down per se that I'm going to lose. Now I do lose time, which time, in my opinion, is money. Right. But I'm willing to make sacrifices because this is something that I enjoy doing, and when you do make good money from it, it's awesome. I mean, to get residual checks from Warner Brothers and that kind of stuff, it's a really cool thing. It's definitely would like, and it's something that I like to do. So I definitely just want to continue to pursue it, even if it's far away. I mean, I've got on a plane and come out to was it Dallas or Houston? Shot some stuff out there a long time ago for what was a crime reenactment show. I got called last minute. Flew out there and met some folks and rented a car and was back on the plane that night and flew back to Atlanta. Yeah. Went to Los Angeles, did a similar thing. We didn't shoot it. We were meeting to try to put together a project, and that was right before COVID, and then that never came together. Yeah. But I was going to go out there and do that and, stay out there for a week or so and get it shot and get it done. It just never happened. So yeah, man, independent films there's nothing, in my opinion, if you can do them, like if the union is not holding you back, then do it. I mean, if you're an actor or you want to work and you just enjoy you enjoy the process, then yeah, you have to. Sometimes those bigger projects, they come so far and few between, that you just have to stay active. So that's the way I see it, so I like to try to stay active in network and meet other people. And, you'll meet a lot of good folks in this industry or, any industry if you're pursuing it. But in this industry particularly, once you get involved, you kind of see it's a pretty small niche. You kind of almost get to where everybody knows each other. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And it's funny you say that because, we talked a little bit about the community of actors I know out there in Florida. Mm-hmm. And then, there's a community of actors in Arkansas. And then, we have a community here in Dallas. And it was funny because I was watching one of my favorite shows, Vindication, and I saw two of my friends from Arkansas on the show, here in Dallas. And I'm like, Buddy Campbell, he's a friend of mine, and he's out there in Arkansas. He was on Vindication, and I'm like, is that Buddy? So I get on the phone, call him, Buddy, are you on Vindication? And he's like, yeah, him and Olivia Disney. So, we talk about, how everybody kind of knows everybody. Mm-hmm. I think that because of social media, that it's easier for us to come together as a community as a whole, even though we have these little cliques, in different states. Mm-hmm. So is there a community of actors out there in Atlanta?
Oh yeah. I mean, there's a bunch of, I'd say almost every actor in Atlanta I've probably have come across at some point. I mean, it's just, there's so many different Facebook groups that are Atlanta specific. Right. I've had a lot of actors from other cities that are thinking about moving to Atlanta, and they're asking me, what do I think about Atlanta? Which I think Atlanta's great. I mean, but I'm a little biased. I'm from here. So, but it is a great city. And, but yeah, I mean, there's definitely just a little pockets of actors that, the acting schools, the classes,
Right.
I just started taking. I joined another acting class school through a friend of mine who started one. He's another great actor,
Right.
and I think he's from Los Angeles, and he moved to Atlanta a good while back. But he's done a lot of stuff, man, and he's a very awesome actor and a great teacher as well, as far as a coach and changing things at scene when you're doing scene study and stuff like that, and how to change the character and the dynamics of the scene with your partner. And
Right.
really enjoy it. But yeah, man. Yeah, there's a few of what I call some main players here in Atlanta that seem to work a lot of your bigger projects, and they're very good at what they do. You know, I mean, it's just a matter of time, and they're going to be, I guess, leads in
Right.
films, but so these guys are playing, pretty heavy spots in series and in film.
Right.
So everybody, all actors, all your top actors don't necessarily come from certain areas anymore. They kind of come from many areas of the country. It used to be that most of your top talent would always come from Los Angeles, and then all the
Right.
supporting roles and co-stars would be your local guys, and that
Right.
still may be true a little bit, but not as much as it used to be because
Right.
what with the social media and what we're doing right now, there's so many areas to pull talent from all over.
Right.
So nobody's really has to select from within one particular agency or one particular casting director's opinion. There's like so many different dynamics, and
Right.
that's another thing as an actor. What I mean by as a business as an actor is that that's where you don't have the control. All you can do is just do the best of your interpretation of that character,
Right.
and that's it. Just leave it on the table, and beyond that, it's out of your hands.
Yeah. Hey, you bring up a good point too, because and we talked a little bit about this. A lot of actors are leaving Los Angeles, and they're starting to migrate in other areas. I know we have like a lot of them that's come here to Texas. Matthew McConaughey and Sandra Bullock. We got a lot of them that's come here to Texas, and you got some that is moving out that way to Atlanta. So they're kind of spreading out.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, man. McConaughey's one of my favorite actors,
Right.
man. It's I love that movie. He played in Texas Chainsaw Massacres, and he had the robotic leg. That was
Right.
that was awesome. But he's done a lot of cool stuff, man. I mean, and very great actor. Good, yeah. From Texas, there's a lot of great talent, and I mean, there is a lot of awesome talent in Los Angeles too. I mean, there's it's very competitive out there. That's where a lot of top things are shot. A lot of your top dollars come from out that way, so it's understandable. That's Tinseltown. It's been around forever. So,
Right.
That's where it all started, really. So it's expected. But with that said, Atlanta and in Texas, but in Atlanta, there's so many different studios they built here. It started off with just one or two, and now there's a bunch. I don't even know how many. There's a bunch, and so there's a lot of shows being shot here. A lot of people are bringing their work here because of the studios.
Right.
And there was a running list. I hadn't seen one in a while, but it just got to where there's no point looking at it. But it would be a running list of shows or movies that are being filmed in Atlanta.
Right.
And it's long. I mean, and these are these are big budget projects. This is not, that's not including the independent stuff or any of the small budget things. This is, the union style project. And, I mean, 300 something plus different projects going at one time, so there's always so much. And then of course you have Tyler Perry right here in Atlanta. He's a native, and, man, he has an impressive studio himself. He purchased a large military base here in town called Fort McPherson. It was a military post, and he owns it. That's his studio, and he has built it into basically a little city. I mean, he has there's a miniature White House out there. It's got neighborhoods of houses.
Wow.
I mean, it's all kind of stuff, man. It's super impressive, and I haven't seen it in a while. It's been maybe 5 years since I've
Oh,
been out
wow.
anything out there. So it's only gotten bigger since I've been there. So
Right.
since I'm back at it, I hope to get out there again soon. I'd like to see what's new because that guy's always building something.
Right. Yeah, I actually saw something. Like maybe I got a text or an email that Tyler Perry is always hiring for different films. So
yeah.
that's a great opportunity for someone like you that's trying to get back into acting.
Yeah, it is, and a lot of your local casting directors, casting agents here, they're always casting his work.
Right.
He shoots everything here, um, and he's of course he's done a lot of stuff beyond the crazy Medea stories,
Right.
So
Right.
he's got a lot going on, and he's trying to get into more. Seems to be getting him more to some of your dramatic stories and
Right.
different styles of filming, which. I mean, they're still good, but it's a different dynamic when what put him on the map for me, anyways, was Medea, all the Medea films, which were
Right.
hilarious. And so making that transition is a good thing for him for sure. But,
Right.
It just has to be well received and it takes time. Some people don't have, it's hard to see it, anybody different, being something different. It is for me. You take like Al Bundy, from
Right.
I mean, every time I see him in anything else, it's Al Bundy's playing a cop. But you know what I mean? Everybody knows him as Al Bundy. So
Right.
he did that part so well, and that's what he's known for. And so you have to, as an actor, these guys that are top talent like Tyler Perry, also as a film director and producer. But McConaughey was somebody who did a good job of that. He didn't get pigeonholed into just a character type.
Right.
Some guys, it happens, I mean, what's it? Norman Bates. I forget his actual name, but from Psycho,
Right.
man. Before that man died, I read up his story, and he had a tough time. It really bothered him personally because that movie just pigeonholed him to being just a creepy guy, and he
Right.
had a hard time booking anything else because nobody
Yeah.
would see him as anything else. So, there's always that, I guess, in the industry of entertainment. So you have to be careful and try to not get too pigeonholes being known for that guy, but
Right.
if you can, sometimes being that guy is okay. It's all right, but being that guy, if
Right.
it's what it is, it's what it is, so, but Tyler Perry them Medea movies are hilarious, man. I'll still watch them.
Right. You brought a good point too, because a lot of actors get typecast.
Oh yes.
They do a character, and then that's what people expect from them. Jim Carrey is one of those guys.
Oh yeah.
Jim Carrey is one of those guys. That he could go in there. He'll do. Everybody expects him to do comedy roles. So if he tries to do a serious role, it's
Yep.
I think it's tougher to bring in the audience with a serious, Jim Carrey.
Mhm.
I mean, because they're used to him,
I know it's
being
crazy.
crazy.
Over the top comedy. Yeah, man.
Right.
Yeah, that was something for him. And I listened to him talk a lot too, especially over the past 5-6 years. He's seemed like he's gone through a pretty large transition personally. Right. And some of that may tie back into that, him being a funny guy for his whole career. It can be tiring, I think, for some of those guys. I don't know for certain. I'm not a comedian, but I think some of there's a saying. It's like sometimes your comedians are some of your most darkest characters.
Right.
They're I guess trying to put their own. They don't want to display their own internal demons, I guess is the best way to say it.
Yeah.
I don't know. But yeah, you're right. Jim Carrey certainly is always will be, the freaking guy that delivering the pet detective guy, delivering that box, kicking it down the street.
Right.
Yeah. Same thing with what's the other guy? Shoot, what's his name? It's Happy Gilmore Productions.
Adam
Adam Sandler. Yeah, man. Same with him. When I see him play more serious roles, it's like,
Yeah.
wait a minute. I keep on waiting on the punchline to kick in, because
Right.
you know him as being over the top, the crazy guy. Yeah,
Right.
maybe it was hilarious films that he's made, and so but it's nice to see those guys do things different, because it's cool to see
Right.
a different aspect of that. It is an actor, but it's still a person.
Yeah.
They've been around so long, you feel like you can relate with them,
Right.
even though they're just portraying a character.
Right. And I think too that kind of hinders their talent because you put them in a box and
Yeah,
you expect them to be the one character, and it doesn't. It's not fair to them to be able to show their range as an actor, to
that's
be able
right.
to play multiple different types of characters.
Yeah, unfortunately, that's so true. And even for me, being as small and as insignificant as I am on film, it was happening to me. I was getting typecasted as playing the bad guy, and it has a lot to do with your looks. Like how are you perceived?
Right.
So when you audition for a certain character type, there may be certain traits about the way you look that just seem to fit that type so well, even though it could be so inaccurate. That
Right.
it just works on camera for whatever reason, and next thing you know, you're getting booked for that every time. So
Right.
that's what I started getting into, some of the horror stuff, and it just kind of went in that direction. I still enjoy the work, don't get me wrong,
Right.
but it would be nice to break away from some of those things and try to do some funnier stuff, or some romance type, or even playing just a normal guy.
Right.
That would be refreshing. So I'm hoping to do that now that I'm getting older, and start trying to go into more of those types of roles, pursue some more of the more, I don't know how to word what I'm trying to say, but as I get older, I feel like maybe my character types can be expanded some.
Right.
Maybe we'll see.
Cool.
I
Have you ever
just
thought about
What's that,
you
Carl?
ever thought about getting behind the camera? Like doing directing or producing films?
Maybe one day. Yes, I have a passion for that, and
Right.
being in acting, you just have you have an eye for things, certain shots that would look nice, and
Right.
I find myself noticing stuff all the time. I mean, like, man, this would be a great scene for this would be a great location for this scene,
Right.
um, and I enjoy that. It's just something that is seeing seeing something in a different perspective than what it actually is. And
Right.
that's what a lot of that industry, when you're on that side of the coin, that very important to having that vision,
Right.
especially if you're going to be producing or directing. Or even sometimes you have what's called your location scouts that go out and help find locations and things like that. And that's what they do. They're trying to find places that are available that will work for the scene type.
Right.
Uh, I would enjoy doing something like that, because I like bringing that kind of stuff to life. It's just
Right.
it's cool. So, but I'm not doing it right now. But maybe one day. I have some ideas.
Yeah, I'm currently writing a script, and I'm thinking about that in the back of my head too. Because when you're writing a script, you're always thinking, um, the location.
Yes.
'Cause- and then the other thing with the location is you have to figure out the budget.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah. That's a
Oh,
tough one. Yeah.
yeah. So when you're writing a script, and you're putting it together, you're trying to put a storyline together, and you're looking at all the different locations that you're going to, could possibly be using, and then you're like, man, you know, would I be able to get to a police station? Would I be
Yeah.
able to do this? You know what I mean?
Yep.
So that's that's an important role. For somebody to do is to be able to go find those locations. Especially when you have a bare minimum budget.
Yeah. It makes it tough, man. I mean,
Right.
it's. I mean, some of these big films that you hear about, these insane budgets, you're like, how in
Right.
the world did they spend $100 million? Like what?
Right.
And then you start looking at who they hired, where they shot at. All that stuff adds up, man. And even on a small shoestring budget, you can get out of hand really fast.
Right.
And something that you thought was going to take $1,500 turns into 15,000
Right.
real fast. So, yeah, I mean, I think, if you could, that's why a lot of people do horror on the independent stage, because you can shoot a horror film with generally just a few people and
Right.
keep your locations pretty limited and still make a pretty decent project, you know,
Right.
uh, because of the dynamics of it, they can be done. I mean, not to say you can't do that in a different genre, but
Right. Right.
I find, from my experience, horror was notoriously known for that. From the times I've been involved in it, that's exactly how it was.
Right.
But you wouldn't necessarily know it when you watch the final product.
Right.
But when you have these big elaborate shots and you have these really awesome films, I mean, there's so much that goes into that, and it's a lot of money. So the best thing to do is to put together a great project or a pilot for a series and try to get somebody to fund it, or try to get some investors on the film. I mean, I do have an idea for something that would be pretty cool, but it just, man, to bring that to life, it would just take a miracle. I mean, so
Right.
I feel you, man. I know what you're saying.
So, but like you say with the word, just go get some woods and a little cabin out in the woods, and you
Man,
got your location.
that's it. They don't need much, just some few creepy places and
Right.
some storyline and a couple of actors.
Right.
You make
Get
it
special
happen.
effects, and you're good to go.
That's it, man. So there's always that. If you need a limited budget, write some horror and
Right.
some suspense, whatever, and try to make it on a limited budget and put something out there, and then try to recreate it. I've done that with people that have shot feature films and on a shoestring budget with the intention of recasting, reshooting the whole thing with a bigger budget.
Right.
So, as an actor, I'm glad to do that, but at the same token, it's like, shoot, man, I like to think I could play that same character, on the real budget, so
Right.
it's kind of, that's something that's just the nature of the business. Sometimes it's how it is,
Right. But one of the things that I really am impressed now with a lot of these independent films is, and I really like the independent films, is because they have original storylines. You got Hollywood, who's got all these, they regurgitate a lot of the same stories. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Lately, they've been doing a lot of that.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, how many times can you see Jurassic Park? You know what I mean?
I know, man.
So
every time I turn around, it's a recreation of something. The Ghostbusters, there's always something coming out. Yeah, it's like, man, come on now. These were big hits back in the day. Well, let's leave them there. Let's come up with some new hits. I mean, we just need a little creativity. I mean, I know it's there. I just don't know why the budgets are going behind, recreating. I guess that maybe they feel like it is sure to hit because it's a recreation of something that's already worked, just less risky.
Right.
But I mean, I mean, I get it. It's money. It's a money game at the end of the day.
Right.
But I'm right there with you, man. I'd love to see this newer stuff continue to evolve, and even from independence, even to the top level. It's nice to have nice, fresh material out there and hear different stories, and that's what a movie is. That's what entertainment is. Nobody wants to see the same thing over and over and over again. It's just because now every time if you watch the remake of Ghostbusters, well, what are you comparing it to? You're comparing it to Dan Aykroyd and them guys back from the original, man. So it's never going to be. It's, in my opinion, a remake typically doesn't ever really live up to the original.
Right. Yeah, and they do it because it was successful then, and they figure it's going to be successful now. But I would love to see these independent filmmakers who have these original stories. The bigger production companies giving them a shot and letting them bring their stories to life. And it's funny because there's different people I've talked to. I've had Bennett Yerlin on, who was one of the writers of Dumb and Dumber.
Oh, wow.
And That film got turned down 30 times.
For real?
30 times.
Man, it's one of my favorites.
And Bennett said that they would pitch it. They would just change. They wouldn't change the script. All they did was change the name of it. And they kept resubmitting it. It would get turned down. They would change the name, resubmit it. And I'm like, how many films out there, great films, gets turned down because they don't fit the what their key of success is.
I'm sure it's a lot. It's a lot of great things, man, because you're pitching it, and then you're depending on who's receiving that pitch. That's one thing about it. This is art, so you got to remember whoever holds the keys to that taking off is still a perception of what that person thinks. So it doesn't necessarily mean this. Somebody in the office down the hall is going to perceive it the same way,
Right.
So that's the thing about it is, man, there's a lot of stuff that's great that you've never seen or heard of because it didn't make it past, the first guy who heard the pitch, so
it's just crazy. I just had Master Pacina, who was one of the creators of Mortal Kombat and, the video game Mortal Kombat. When it first came out, and they got turned down the first time.
Wow. Man.
So you look at it. I mean, it's just a lot of them just kept being persistent, and then finally got picked up. But it makes you wonder how many great films are different forms of entertainment has been shot down that would have been the next iconic film.
I know, man. A buddy of mine, he moved out to Los Angeles maybe about 6-7 years ago, and great actor, by the way. He was one of my acting class partners, man. And we actually shot a passion project last summer, a really awesome project that he put together. Another low budget film, but it's going to be awesome. I've seen some of the work. It's just looking great. But anyways, he got a job out there. He was, of course, pursuing acting, but he got a job out there and working with, I forget, is it the network? Was it Adult Swim?
Yeah.
And he got involved in something to hearing pitches from people that would bring in their ideas to be on that network. So he got to hear, he got to see from that side of the coin, those guys bringing those projects in to hear what they had to say. Now, I don't know what his part was as getting a yes or no, but I know he worked in that, and he just thought it was cool. And he also started doing a lot of voice stuff. So voice characters on video games. That's something else he kind of found a niche in for himself, which is odd because he's an awesome film actor, man. But whatever reason, he got involved in that. But it's just funny you mentioned that about pitching, and that's what he would have to. He get to hear these things, and he was telling me about some of them. And he's like, man, you'd be surprised, what that comes across there. That some of it's just horrible, and some of it's like, why didn't we pick that up? It's great,
Right. So there's a lot of actors now that are doing voice acting too.
Yeah.
It seems like there's a big market for that now.
Yeah, there's I know actors here in Atlanta. That's what they target. That's what they do. There's guys. That's all they do, and they have their setup. They're basically sound booth, and that's where they shoot their auditions at.
Right.
I have done some. I've auditioned for voice work.
Right.
Didn't really. I can't. I don't think I did any voice work, but I know I auditioned for some. Because of my Southern accent, and they were trying to use me for different things. I think Bojangles was a chicken chain. I don't know if they have that in Texas, but it's like a fast food fried chicken place. And so I had a call back for that. I remember I auditioned for them a few times, and they were wanting a Southern accent, but they told me to make some adjustments, and I tried, and I guess it's what they wanted. I don't know, man. I was trying to make it just answer what they were wanting to hear, but I don't know, man. I just talked about the chicken or the biscuits, whatever it was, So yeah, man. But yeah, there's guys that do just that. I mean, there's a big niche for that.
Wow. So now that you're back into things, to get into acting. So if somebody wanted to follow you and or possibly even hire you, how can they do that?
Well, the best way right now is just to hit me up on directly. I mean, I have a YouTube channel that I'm putting together. It's just Eric James Morris,
Okay.
where we're not talking about acting as much. We're talking about entrepreneurship.
Right.
So that's one place you'll see more of me on screen, just talking like this, but I'm talking about a topic.
Right.
Just kind of really started that. And then Facebook, of course, you can find me there, Eric Morris. That's my personal. It's just, and you can find me as Eric James Morris as well.
Yeah.
And you can just Google Eric James Morris, and you'll find my IMDb page, and you can see more of some of the stuff I've done, and see a little more about who I am. Read my
Right.
bio, and but I'm here in Atlanta, Georgia, and but yeah, I'll be back in this pretty heavy very soon. So just a matter of time. I'll have another agent and back hopefully doing some cool work. I like to work with some good people out there, and I'd love to bring together some good stories, some good projects.
Right.
And I feel confident that that's going to happen.
Right.
You know, it's just a matter of crossing the right lines and meeting the right people. I already know a lot, but I took a 3-year hiatus, man. So it's there's a little bit of, reconnecting I got to do.
Right.
But a lot of the people that I know, they're still there. And
Right.
so, but yeah, Eric James Morris, and Atlanta, Georgia, that's where you can find me. I'd be happy to talk with anybody who wants to talk about this or talk about business or just talk about the weather. So
Well, cool, man. Cool. And a lot of this is about networking.
Yeah.
It's getting to meet new people who's in this industry. And like I said, there's a big community out there in Florida. It's not too far that I know always has something going on. Yeah, they have that place probably pumps out, I would say, 20 movies every like 6 months. They have like 20 films, that they're pumping out from there. Really great people. So I definitely want to hook you up with some of those people. So
I appreciate it.
because they're always doing something. But definitely, man. Thank you so much, man, for joining me on my show today, man.
Yeah, well, thanks for having me, Cross. I appreciate the time and the chance to speak to your audience, man.
Well, cool, man. So hopefully we'll see a lot more of you. And hopefully this audition that you just did goes really well. And like I said, I'll talk to you off camera and introduce you to some of the people out there, because
Awesome.
like I said, they're always looking for people too. So, but well, cool, man. Thanks again for being on the show.
All right, thank you. Thanks a lot. You guys have a good night.
All right, guys. Remember, till the next episode, you guys are uniquely designed with purpose, and always keep moving forward. Peace.